But they're not in Remind. They're on Olap now.
The tasks are only in Olap. The Remind is only for communication. I can't put anything in Remind. I can put files, but the tasks will be always in Olap. The Remind is only for quick communication between us or with your team, with the other members of your team, based on the team that you are assigned to, which you should see it in Remind. But I was more asking about questions on if you read the assignments and this, if you have any doubt on how to do it, or after reading my instructions, because there might be still doubts. For instance, the statistical sheet and this stuff. Just if you read it. If you don't, you know that it's not for due now, so it's due by the end of the semester. So obviously you might not have read it either, but the sooner you do it, the better. The sooner you read it, at least, the better. So you have, if you have any doubts, resolve it immediately. So not to have it in the last minute. So far, any questions on that? Apart those I already replied via email for those who contacted me. 0, 9. Excellent. Everything was perfectly clear. I know, I wrote it, so it must be clear perfectly. So then we go directly into the topic. Today we will discuss, is it cold there, Tina, Mishi?
Yeah, it's really cold.
You see that?
Yeah.
No, that's good. You're comfortable there. Yesterday we went back to the office, so the university reopened, but not for you guys, only for us. And today they wrote us that no, it's closed again. So it's pretty fun. This we go, we don't go. Yesterday we went, we were like 5, all with masks and this stuff. Today no, tomorrow who knows. Anyways, so today we are discussing, for us for sure not, for us we have already the dates in September, as you know, because I posted them in Olat. And so the tournament, yes, in the end we'll do it in practice in September. Again, like the important part is for you, for the task is to write it down, like with the rules and all the things as I wrote in the instructions. And the part in September will be the fun part. Like, since it's a tennis class, let's play together for at least a couple of times. So it won't be nothing really special except for finally gathering, seeing each other face to face and playing some tennis. Is there anyone else that wants to join, Tina, Mishi? They can? No problem. We are open.
Another baby again, sorry.
Oh, wonderful. That's perfect age for starting tennis.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem. In 15 minutes, my kids will be back from the daycare because they reopened there, and they will crash into our class for sure. So no need to say sorry if anyone else comes with and joins. So today we discuss a bit about the physical preparation and warm up and this stuff in tennis. There are different streams for the physical preparation. I'm not going to tell you all the streams that discuss physical preparation in tennis because that's not the point of this course. But typically, from personal experience, I can tell you that the physical training and warm up are best when they are developed in a way that the players use already the tools, so the racket. That can be applied to any sports, racket sports anyways, like a part of the general and typical and most common warm-up or physical training when you have that applies to the sport directly is best. So in my case, I will be showing you some exercises and some activities and warm-ups that are good for tennis specifically. As I say, the most common is probably the one that you all know, regular warm-up, just with some specific, like just being careful on something specific, which is remember that if you have flexibility to the warm-up, never do it as first. So do not start with flexibility. You need to have flexibility because you use a lot of joints when you play tennis, but never start with flexibility first. Any idea why we shouldn't use flexibility first? Like, you reach the place in which you're training, do not start with flexibility, but start with, if you want to do a traditional warm-up, start with jogging or running and then put flexibility. Any idea why?
You're gonna strain your muscle if you're not warm.
You're gonna what?
Strain your muscle.
No, that's a possibility, yes. What else?
Also, you increase in length, and then you can't apply really high forces anymore, or really fast forces.
Oh, when you perform the stretching?
Yeah, because then after it's a lot more difficult to do really rapid movements because the muscle is lengthened.
Yeah, both good idea, good justifications. And also because like we are like, our body is like a machine. What happens when a machine is very cold and you want to, let's say that is something that you want to move, even as simple as a door that is extremely cold because of cold weather, and you try to move a very heavy door that you try to move. How smooth is the movement? It's not that smooth because it's cold, so the juncture in which the door rotates are cold and they are tougher to move. Then you move them a little and those juncture gets a bit warmer because of friction, and they lubricate and it's easier to move them. So for both reasons that Verena and Antonio said, but also because you don't do stretching immediately because the joints need to be lubricated a bit. They might be completely cold. You start doing exercises and they are stiffer to move. So you move your body, you increase the temperature of your body, and then it's easier to make to use the joints to make stretching. I'm saying it because in many cases I saw people starting with the flexibility. In some cases it's relatively okay, and the case is when it's extremely warm weather. But I'm talking about extremely warm weather where your body is already very warm because of the temperature. For instance, in Texas, many times we didn't need to start jogging because with 40 or 45 degrees, you have your body already well warmed up in general, the temperature of your body. But in general, you never start with stretching alone. Then you can do some jogging and alternate with stretching exercises, or you can do all the jogging first and all the stretching later, but you never start with the stretching without any movement before, for the reasons we said. So far so good, guys? This is the traditional warm-up. There are some specific joints that you want to warm up in tennis, and probably if some of you is familiar with tennis have seen those exercises in which you do this. You take your hands and start doing this. This is very common to do in tennis because the wrist is a very important part of tennis movements and tennis players. So they usually always, do some, you can either do this or do more commonly. Wonderful. That was very fast. No, sorry, I'm seeing Mishi doing it super fast. But yeah, this is warming up a bit the wrist joint. And another one that I'll try to show you, I don't know if it's visible, but let's try, is for the shoulder. The shoulder is another very important part of tennis player because of the serve, because of the movement above the head. And so very common stretching is doing this movement. Back and down and up, back and down and up. So it's like circular movement of the arms around the shoulder. And those are typically added to the common exercises for stretching in tennis because of the particularity of the sport and because you need those joints very much when you are playing. That can be modified depending on the sport. For instance, in tennis table, you don't use that much the shoulder, but you do use a lot more the wrist. So joints that are specifically connected with tennis movements or the sports movement should be worked on in particular. All right? Then let's go into some warm-up different ways. One of the common warm-up that I used to do with kids is for the familiarization of, they call it racket familiarization, like getting familiar with the racket. And that's typical, for instance, for warm-up or directly already exercises for kids. You get the racket, and what you do is, you know what, I'll get my racket for a moment. Give me a second. Rackets. Get ball. Familiarization. Can you see it? You can't see it because I have this background that is terrible. Okay, let's put the different background. There you go. So running. Oh. I think I removed the microphone now. Okay. Can you hear me, guys? Yes?
Yes.
All right. So familiarization, for instance, moving with the racket around the court or around the space and keeping the ball this way. Or, for instance, doing these exercises. Any exercise in which you are working with the racket in a very simple way and with the ball is familiarization games. So they are used for warm-up or for exercising already. Imagine that you can do anything you want with that. For instance, you may have, with the kids, I used to have a circuit and a challenge. So they were in teams. They had to carry the ball this way through a sort of a path with cones and obstacles. They reach the other side, they drop the ball, and then they come back. Or they do the whole circuit, come back to the place in which their team is, and they pass the ball to the following one with the racket. And all of these are exercises that are either used for warm-up in kids or are used also for familiarization with the racket, which is very important, especially in young age when you are not used to play with a racket. Any other thing, for instance, or games that can be added that are bouncing the ball down, bouncing up, so bouncing strongly down, the ball goes up, and then you pick it again. All these type of games are very, very commonly used in kids, and they are called racket familiarization games. So carrying the ball, bouncing the ball up and down, alternated bouncing like this. You're turning the racket and doing the alternated bouncing. Then high bounce and pick the ball with the hand. So you hit the ball down, the ball then bounces, goes up, and then the kid has to pick it up with the other hand, and then again. And meanwhile, you're running, or you're moving, or you want them to stay in place. So far, so good, right, guys? Kids not, because you're not kids anymore. Yes? More or less? All right, all of these are called familiarization games. So again, you use them for warming up, you use them for games, you use them for the kids, especially for kids, or better say for kids or for those who are beginners. Never use the racket in their life. They need to get used to it. And they are very, very common games that are used. Then there are because meanwhile I'm reading because I put all my notes there, so you don't see it, but I have a file open. Then I will share with you my screen so you can see more. And then you have the warm-up with racket and ball. So exercises in which you actually warm up, but you use racket and ball. There are plenty of games that you can do. Some of them are those in which, for instance, you are all in circle, everybody is holding a racket, the racket is placed down. Like you have your hand here, the lower part of the racket touches the ground, and when you say, hey, everybody drops the racket and the following one has to pick it, and you are in circle. You follow me? Can you imagine that? Everybody in circle with the racket this way. When I say, hey, I drop the racket and go try to pick the following one. And the one next to me does the same with my racket, and so on. These are exercises with racket. And also other things that you can typically do is on a short court, you are playing tennis with someone else. So you have the net. Are you familiar with the tennis court? The net, each side has two zones. One shorter zone is the serve zone, and the other, the longer, is the baseline. So a typical warm-up game that is done in tennis is playing with another one, like one versus one, on the short court, so on the service line. The service lines are shorter, so you are basically playing tennis, but just on the short court. So you are not running too much, you are warming up. You're warming up also the movement, the tennis movement, and you are playing some match. You can even play as a challenge or as a match. I have a video of that, probably not exactly, but similar, and I will show it to you. Give me a second so I can share my screen. Okay, let's put this. One second, and I'll be with you with the video. This one I forgot to upload it. I have all the other one uploaded, but this one I didn't. Probably this one. Okay, yes. You see the video? This is obviously not exactly the reality because it's on a garden, since it was during the lockdown. But imagine that's the tennis net, and on a short distance you are playing with someone else, either as we do in the video or with the bouncing. We couldn't do it with the bouncing because with the bouncing is me missing the ball. With the bouncing is basically in our garden is like you don't know where the ball is going to bounce. Oh, let me remove the sound from the. We have even the crowd there, the kids watching us, but this is a pretty typical exercise that you do for warming up. Obviously, since it's with my wife, I have to let her win, or I sleep outside, and it's not nice, but you can do it as a match, or you can do it as just as simple as just a rally. So you pass the ball to each other, and meanwhile you move, and little by little you warm up. Stop sharing, and I'll go close this. That's fun. Tennis online with videos. So these are the so-called warm-up with racket and ball, which is also very good. I'm telling you all this stuff because when you have to do your warm-up, so you can think about it, you can think about warm-ups that are not only the traditional ones, but try to think about a lot of warm-up with racket and balls, or with only racket, with only balls too. Another very common and traditional warm-up when you are alone is the wall tennis. I guess that you know when I'm talking about wall tennis, you know what I'm talking about. Like you are alone, you have any wall in front of you, not necessarily that official wall in which you have even the lines drawn, and you are just hitting the ball against the wall. You can do it in different ways. One way is that you're, oh, my kids are coming, so party is over. No babbo. Anni, babbo non può adesso, ok? Vedi, guarda. Vai con mammi. Sorry guys. So one is directly, yeah, that's one. Then there's the other one. They're twins. Okay. Budget. Yeah, let's go there. Go. Bye-bye, future tennis players. Sorry, guys. So one is the typical that you are just hitting the ball against the wall. And the other is like squash style, if you're familiar with squash. And the other is using the serve. So you have your racket, you have the wall in front of you, and what you're doing is that you are doing this movement, and from up down the ball bounces under the wall, then on the wall, and then up again. And you are hitting over and over again this style. This is the like service warm up. Up, boom, down. The ball bounces down on the wall, up again, and you hit it. That's very difficult. You need to have a good control of the racket and the ball, but it's very good for warming up if you are alone, and you need to warm up your shoulders and the tennis movements. Shh. And these are the warm up with racket and ball. So we have seen the traditional warm-up, remembering the stretching that you need to do with the joints, and especially with those joints that are most used in tennis. Then you have the warm-up for familiarization that you can use for games, especially in kids and beginners. And this is the warm-up with racket and balls. The most common that are done also by professionals are short court, like we did in the video, with volleys, like we were doing it, or bouncing, and wall against the wall. So these are the most common warm-ups without racket, a part of all the traditional warm-ups. Ani, shh, Ani, babu ciao. Yeah. Ok. Ora puoi andare. Go. Ani, go. Ani, go. Dai. Puoi stare qui seduta, però shh, fai silenzio. Alright, guys. Ani, and then there are the warm-up with ball only. For instance, tossing the ball, tossing and catching balls with both hands from the up above the head or from below the head, or simulating the tennis movement. For instance, Ani, can you go? Go to your mom and ask, please. Go. No. So one is, for instance, again against the wall, or with another person. You have just the ball. You don't need to use the racket, and you are either tossing like this, so to warm up the shoulder, and also the catching the ball. Even if you don't use your hands for tennis, is anyways important to have. That's bad, but to have a good timing and eye-hand coordination. So that's good exercise. And then there are those exercises that you do simulating the tennis movement without racket. Yeah, I have a kid that is almost crying here because she wants the ball. So you're doing this movement again with another one, and you simulate the tennis shot and you throw the ball. And then you simulate the tennis shot and you throw the ball to the other or against the wall like I'm doing now. Obviously, this is very lazy when you do it in tennis and you want to warm up. Basta. So if you do it normally for warming up, it's not as easy as I'm doing it, but you're always moving. So you are moving, you are slightly jumping. And you do this type of exercises in which you are warming up without the racket, but with the ball. So that was just for giving you some ideas, not only on warming up with racket, familiarization, racket and ball, and only ball, but no racket. And then there are a series of warm-up that I can't show you because I don't have a ladder, but with the ladder, there are very common exercises for coordination in tennis. So the ladder, you put the ladder on the floor, and you're doing the running on the ladder with footwork, different coordination activities. Or I guess you're familiar with the ladder. You know what I'm talking about, right, guys?
Yeah.
Leather activities, okay. Those are very important also in tennis and should be always added to a warm-up because footwork is very important in tennis. So you want to warm up the footwork in tennis because everything when you play a match or when you're playing tennis is about the footwork. If you have a bad footwork, you don't reach the ball very well, and so you hit the ball badly. So you can be as good as you want, but if you don't reach the ball properly, then you don't hit it well. Questions so far, guys? Anna, questions? My daughter? Oh, she lost the ball. Tieni. Dai, Anna, vai a giocare di là per amore. Su. Vai a giocare di là, non di qua, per favore. Grazie. Coronavirus is not the real risk here. So say that, guys. These are the most typical warm-ups that you can think about. So ladder, traditional, racket and ball, familiarization, and only ball. And now I have some training exercise to show you. So when we talk about training, there are again different schools, but the most used probably nowadays is when we talk about physical training, obviously, is the functional training. Like you don't want to really train in a way that is too general because you need to see what tennis needs or what the player needs for in tennis to develop. Like typically 20 years ago, and I'm saying 20 years ago because 20 years ago I was a tennis player. I used to be. The traditional approach was our coach would have us running for 20, 30 kilometers around the city or around the forest because we had to develop cardiorespiratory fitness. It's very true if you are a youngster, so you are very young and you still need to develop all your capacities, that makes sense. But if you are a tennis player already with a good base of development of fitness, that's completely useless. And then you'll hear someone telling you, yeah, but a tennis player based on statistics runs 20 kilometers per match. Yes, that's true. But how do they run that? How have you ever seen a tennis match, guys?
Yeah.
If you haven't, then come back next semester because you will fail this one. I'm just kidding. But so when they play tennis, have you ever seen a tennis player running for those famous 20 kilometers that they cover in a match? Have you ever seen them running constantly around the court? Like, are they running around the court constantly for 20 kilometers? No. Exactly. Mishi, thank you. They are actually doing sprints. It's sprints, and back, and sprints and back, and then all in all, statistically, if you sum up all the sprints and the distance covered, maybe they have covered 11, 15 kilometers, maybe. But they are doing it in a way that is not like constant running. So there is no meaning in developing still in players that are advanced or already have a good fitness. There is no meaning in doing activities that develop their cardiorespiratory fitness because it's useless for their sport. Some research says that basically a tennis player sprints for 10 to 20 seconds, depending on what kind of player we're talking about. Maybe Nadal even 30 seconds because he never stops. And then after 10, 20 seconds, they have 3, 4, 5 seconds and up to 20 seconds of rest because between one point and another, a player has 20 seconds for playing again. So we are talking about efforts of 30 seconds of very high intensity and 20, 30 seconds of break. So those 11 kilometers are broken down in this way. It doesn't make any sense when you do a physical exercise to train in a different way than the way that is functional for the sport. So all the activities that are commonly done nowadays for players who have already developed their basic fitness are on either strength, upper limb strength, lower limb strength, core strength is very important, or they are doing the exercises that are functional for their sport. Let me show you a couple of them on videos that I have uploaded for you. And again, I would first select it and then share the screen so you can see that. One of the most typical exercises that you do for that simulate the tennis situation is called the 9 bolts. So I will show you now this activity. Amazing. That's not it. I had it there. Sorry guys, I thought I had them. I mean, I have them all in a folder, but I cannot see them. Oh, here you go. There. So let me share the screen with you. You have these 9 bolts around the space. They are distributed 3 on a further line, 3 on a middle line, and 3 on a closer line from the starting point. And the exercise is sprinting to pick up each ball. Every time you pick up a ball, you bring it back to the starting point. You see that? You pick up the ball with a sprint. Well, don't judge my sprint, please. I'm 40. So that's a sprint for a 40-year-old person. You sprint, you pick up 1 ball, you go back to the starting point, drop the ball. In my case, I was also involving the kids. I have to high-five the kids and then back. So every time, sprint, back, sprint, back. This is a very common exercise that simulates the tennis condition, the tennis situation. And if you notice, when you do the sprint, you pick up a ball from a certain point. For instance, here, this is the third, where I'm picking the ball is the further line, the line that is the farthest from the starting point. And I'm picking the ball that is on the left side. So there are 3 balls per line. In the furthest line, as you can see in the video, I'm picking 1 ball. Then there is 1 ball right on the right, and then there is another ball that is out of the video range. So if I'm picking the left ball, when I come back, in theory, I do not come back sprinting, but I come back with the body that way. Let me put it a bit earlier. Let's see how my body is in this point. So this is again for simulating tennis. Like you are imagine that the starting point is the center of the baseline. Are you with me, guys? The center of the baseline, the point in the middle of the court, but at the baseline. So where a tennis player typically is in a normal point. So I'm sprinting to the furthest left corner. It's like going for a ball that is very short, and I have to hit the ball that is very short. It's a drop shot, if you're familiar with tennis. When I run towards the ball, obviously I run straight and I do a sprint. I pick the ball. But when I go back, a tennis player should never go back sprinting back, like sprinting, showing the back to the opposing side of the court. Are you with me, guys? Tell me yes or no, because imagining it. So I'm sprinting, reaching that farthest point. Imagine that on the other side, there is the opponent and his side of the tennis court. When I go back towards the baseline, I can't go back just sprinting normally because I would show the opponent my back. And the tennis player always has to see the other side of the court. So the way you sprint is always in a way in which your body allows you, the position of your body allows you to check the other side of the court so you can see where the opponent is moving. And so this is 9 balls because simulates the potential location of the ball from the opponent. Those that are very far are the drop shots. When the opponent plays a very short shot and wants to surprise you with a shot that is close to the net, and you have to run so far, that far. The 3 balls in the middle are when the opponent plays short but easy for you to attack, so you have to be fast and attack the ball as fast as you can. and the 3 balls on the closer to the starting point and are the normal strokes that you have in tennis, the baseline strokes. Does it make sense?
Yes.
9 balls because they cover all the possible angles in which an opponent can play, angles and length of the strokes of the opponent, and 9 balls also because commonly a tennis rally lasts an average of from 7 strokes to 15 strokes. So average for a tennis player, every point they will play 7 to 15 strokes. So 9 balls simulates sort of 9 strokes rally. Does it make sense, guys?
Yeah.
More or less? This is one. The other exercises that also simulate the tennis condition. I will put something else. The footwork. So this is one that simulates the tennis situation of the 9 balls. Then there is another that is for footwork specifically with racket, and I'll show you that too. I just need to select it. Okay, I can't see it. Oh, it's here. Okay. I will pause it and then share the screen with you again. All right. So can you see the video? Can you see the now it's frozen, but I don't know. It's not completely fully visible, but there are some spots on the grass close to the chairs, and 3 or 4 things on the chair itself. Can you see them?
Yes.
They are this stuff. Can you guys see me as well? Also, can you see the video and me too?
Yes.
Yes.
So the things that are on the close to the chairs or on the chairs are kids things. I use this is from the kids. This is black, this is pink, and each one of them has a different color. I use either 5 of them, or for more complex exercises, I use 8. Without the chairs, so if you do this exercise without the chairs, you use only the 5 spots with different colors that are on the grass. You can add also the chairs to make it a bit more complex. That simulates the also reaction that you have to have when you're playing tennis. You need to be very, very quick in reacting to the opponent hitting the ball. So it's a reaction game that is also a footwork. And now I will play it so you can see it. So I start here for around 30 seconds. It lasts around 30 seconds per round because more or less that's the duration of a potential long rally in tennis. And I have to move constantly with my feet. And meanwhile, my wife there, she's keeping the time, and every 3 seconds she tells me a color, and I have to react as fast as I can with my feet or with my hands to reach that color that she says. This simulates more or less the tennis reaction to a ball coming. When I have the chairs up, if Misha, my wife Mishi calls, sorry Tina, calls a color that is on the grass, then I have to react only with my feet. If she calls a color that is on the chairs, then I have to react with my feet and with the racket. Does it make sense? If it doesn't, now I will show you. Brown is on the chair, so I have to react also with the racket. Green is on the chair on the opposite side. Black is on the middle chair. This is pretty much it. So this is an exercise for reaction and also for footwork. You are moving your feet very fast and very quickly. That simulates tennis way in which you should move your feet, and then you are reacting to a visual stimulation. The visual stimulation is the ball typically. If you don't have a ball, you simulate it with colors, and you have to be as fast as you can in reacting to the color and reach it. You can put, to make it more difficult, you can put the colors further, so you have to run further and react immediately and go further in there. But this is very, very useful for tennis players because according to research, one of the main points of tennis being stronger than others is the ability to see the ball coming faster than the others and react immediately. So for instance, Nadal had an incredible short reaction time, which was way uncommon in other players. And that gave him a lot of advantage compared to others because he can reach the ball faster and quicker than any other player. That's just an example of how you use it. Questions so far, guys? No?
No.
All right, let's go into another video. So the next video is again simulating another exercise that is very good for physical preparation and again simulates the condition of tennis, and it's, I will reach it. Give me a second, guys. But I have it here for sure, just that I have too many. That was, just need to find it. That's not it. Oh, maybe it's this one. No. Sorry, guys. Yes, this is it. Finally. Sorry. Share. Okay, so this is an exercise that simulates also the rallies in tennis, and you can do it faster or slower, but it's good for the preparation that is specific for tennis. So you have a person, you can use anything to signal this part, this shoe that I put here simulates the middle of the court at the baseline. So you are at the baseline at the end of the tennis court, the middle point where a tennis player usually should stand when he's playing tennis to wait for the ball from the opponent. And that simulates the middle point. So a tennis player usually always needs to go back to the center, unless of course has to run very far from it. But typically you hit the ball and you try to go back to the center because that's the best position to reach any shot from the opponent. Like if you are too far from the center, then the opponent can play the other side, and it's too far for you. So the tennis player usually hits the ball and tries to go back to the center of the court. And this exercise simulates it basically. I have a ball, I'm throwing it to Mishi, and she has to run based on where I throw the ball, and she has to always come back to the center, always has to come back to the point in which the shoe is. There are two different types of exercise. This is the mean one. Yes, my wife fell. Don't tell her that I'm showing this video specifically, but this is the mean one. The mean one because I throw the ball wherever I want. I can make tricks. See, here I'm tricking that I'm throwing the ball on one side and then I throw it to the other side. So because you can the opponent can trick you this way, like looking to a side and then hit the ball to the other side. Let's see it all over again when my wife falls. So I don't show you mine, but I fell way more times than she did. So you are throwing the ball left and right. In the basic exercise that you do, you just alternate left and right. So the one who's training always knows where to go, because you have to go the first time right and the second time left, and then right and left, right and left. when you do it more complex is I always throw the ball wherever I want. It's either left or right. It's not short or long or anything else. It's always either left or right, but I don't have to alternate. I can do it in any moment. So the player's training has to be really careful and observing the other and in reacting to as fast as they can to go on either one side or another. Another thing that you train here that is very important for a tennis player is the change of direction, all right? So when you change direction from one side to another in tennis happens it happens often. You're running on one side and all of a sudden you have to stop and change direction. So this exercise specifically is helping a lot in this. So take the ball and change direction. Go to the center, and then I have to decide where to go. Sometimes I think I'll go to left, but then I have to go to the right. So I have to change direction quickly. And when I pick the ball, I throw it back in a way like tennis style, with the movement of that I would do for tennis. There is a way to do it, but another way to do it is also with the racket, actually. Just that on a garden in which the ball basically doesn't bounce, you don't want to do it with a racket because it's useless. Because the ball, you never know, in our garden, you never know where the ball bounces. It can bounce right there or go to Mutteralban. So you rather do it without racket this way, which is also fine anyways. Questions on this? Anna, do you have questions?
No?
No?
What?
Non vuoi niente?
Sí.
Sorry, my daughter that is eating chocolate. Wanna give to daddy chocolate? No?
I eating tea.
Okay, you eating. Perfect. Thank you. So, wait, I have to open the chocolate for her.
I open what?
Sorry.
Chocolate. I cannot get chocolate.
Yes, that's chocolate. Thank you. That's for me. Okay, now go. Bye bye. Or stay here, but don't speak. Sit still. So these are exercises that are done. Or another one, finally, that I can show you is one exercise in which you play with others, and it's on strengthening upper or lower part, but you're playing with someone else on a short distance. So you are tossing the ball with the racket to each other, and then as soon as one of the two players misses the ball, makes a mistake, both have to do a physical exercise. Let me show you some example of that. Okay. I'll share the screen with you, as always. Share. So here we have rackets. I'm playing with my wife. You can see it, but she's behind. So we are playing. She makes a mistake, and based on the mistake, we have to do some physical exercise. In this case, we do jumps on the wall. So we are playing, trying to play, because in the middle there are kids. You move, and you try to also move fast with your feet during the exercise, and then you do this type of exercise, for instance, or other types of exercises. This is just an example, but they are for strengthening your legs. And again, it's not much about strength, but it's power. See, the jumps on the wall are not much about strength. Tennis player needs strength, but not as much as he or she needs power. And so those exercises are mostly power exercises. Let me show you another one. Let me see if it is another one. Yes. So in this case, we are doing an exercise in which every time there is a mistake, there is a sprint. I sprint to the net. So if there is a mistake, there will be very soon, unfortunately. Mistake, sprint, touch the net, go back, take the racket, and start again. So this basically puts together tennis and physical preparation. I sprint, I go back, I take the racket, and start over again. And then there are these are for sprint. The one before was for power, and then there is a third one that is for both legs and upper part and chest, which is this one, if I find it. Should be this one. Yes. And I'll share again. And this joins both lower and upper part. Again, I'm playing with another player, make a mistake soon. Usually it's my wife making a mistake. Just kidding, guys. Where is it? Oh, there you go. And you do some exercise that joins both upper and lower part. These, for instance, are burpees. Burpees for 40-year-old guys, right? You can do it better than this. But burpees also are very good exercises for tennis, and because they join both upper and lower part. There are other exercises that I would have shown you as well, but I don't have videos of that, and I wanted to show you in real time, but I cannot because it's raining here. I don't know there where you are, but mostly the concept and the idea of physical preparation is basically a part of the general preparation that you always do at the gym, or you can do there. A lot of exercises are done on court. And this is an approach that I think I suggest usually to take in any sport you do. What kind of effort, especially at a higher level, what kind of effort is required for performing in a certain sport? In tennis is that type of effort, and you always use the racket. So there is no meaning in preparing a person without the racket or to do something different than what they need. They don't need to run for 10 kilometers in a row because they are not required to do that. They need to be at their best in what they are required to. Again, remember that this is a suggestion that is given to those who have either they are at advanced level, they are not beginners, but they are already into tennis or into any sport already for a certain time, and those who don't need anymore to develop the basic fitness. Basic fitness is needed anyways. I'm not saying that cardiorespiratory fitness is not needed at all. If you're a kid, you want to develop all of them. If you grow older and you specialize in a certain sport, then you should see what kind of characteristic that sports have and try to reproduce them also in the physical preparation. And a lot of that also, for instance, in soccer, I've been for a couple of years physically training two teams in the Italian league, not the highest, but it was the second Serie B, if you are familiar with that, in the second league and in the third league of Italian soccer, so professional soccer players. And a lot of stuff that we did was with the ball, like simulating the effort that they have on the field. Obviously, in that case, there are different roles, and each role has different efforts. So each role, different type of exercises. When I see those exercises for goalkeeper, in which the goalkeeper has to run for 10, 15 kilometers around the forest, I want to laugh because I don't know, unless they have to cover a space of how many meters is the goal of soccer long? It's like 5-6 meters. And they want them to run for 11 kilometers. So the basic concept is for physical preparation and for warm-up. When you think about the warm-up, is try to use the racket, the tool, as much as you can, because the player or the kid, etc., are part of getting physically better, so improve their physical condition. Also, they will need to work with the racket and with the tool that they use in a similar ways as they would do on a court. Questions so far? final consideration, core exercises. Core exercises for tennis players. I don't know if you have, well, you already told me that you've seen tennis matches. My wife is always joking with me because tennis players have, all of them have, or many of them have belly, regular belly. There are a couple of them that look like really with a big belly, that it looks like tennis players don't need the core exercises, but the actually core is another part that tennis players need a lot, because when you hit the ball, you need your core to be completely stable. A good tennis player doesn't move that much the body when they are hitting the ball, the upper part. So the trunk is completely steady. So if I'm playing and I'm in this position for playing tennis, when I hit the ball, my core is strong, and the only thing that goes is the arm. So my body is straight. I don't move the body. I keep the body stable, and then I finish this way. So I'm not doing anything like weird movement. I'm straight and strong with the core, and then I hit the ball, but the core remains completely steady, and this needs a lot of core strength. So regardless of how much belly you can see on a tennis player, tennis players need a lot of core exercises to maintain the trunk very strong and very steady when they are hitting the ball. And here goes my last recommendations in this particular exercises for core. Everybody knows how to work core. How do we work the core? How do we increase the strength of the core, guys? That's a question for you. What do we need to do for increasing the core? What exercises?
You can do isometric movements.
Oh, I wasn't that specific. What kind of muscles do we need to train?
Oh,
The
like
belly.
the rectors, abdominis,
Abdominals. What else? Anything else?
the obliques,
Huh?
obliques.
Oh yeah, well, still abdominals, right? Just the lateral parts of the abdominals.
Oh.
Any other muscle
Yeah.
apart from abdominals that you need to train for the core?
Rectus spinae.
Yeah. So an important thing is to work out also the back. Many forget that you need also the core is not only the abdominals, but it's also the back. So if you're working out only abdominals, then you have a lot of issues. For instance, your abdominals are too developed, your back is not enough developed, and there are many different things that may happen. For instance, there can be even a abdominal muscle that loosen up because they are pulling you too much, that just for balancing they get looser, they get softer than or they get elongated as a reflex, as a reaction to the imbalance between the back muscle and the front muscle. In other cases, you may have many other issues starting from low back pain. Your front part is extremely strong, your back part is extremely weak because you never train it, and you have an imbalance that creates mechanical issues on your spine and on your trunk. So remember two important things. One is, when you talk about core, do not forget that you have to do equal number of exercises for the abdomen and for the back part, or you'll have an imbalance in the strength. And the second is, how do we do abdominals? That's very important. And for tennis player who put their spine under a lot of pressure, our column, our spine is not made really for torsion. Like we can make torsions, but that increases the pressure on the spine in an incredibly higher way. Our spine was built for supporting the weight coming from up, from gravity, not from torsions. So every time you do a torsion, you're putting your back under much more pressure than your back should. In tennis player, torsions constantly. If you see when you hit the ball in a certain way, even if you are steady with your trunk, you are torsion. If you are making a serve, torsion. So you are constantly using your back in a way that many tennis players have back problems. So one thing that you want to avoid is doing torsions also for exercises. So this is a stream of training. You don't have to follow or believe me, but many tennis players avoid the exercise for abdominals that do this movement. Lateral movement or this movement, torsion movement. When I say that, in tennis camps or with my other students, they tell me, okay, so how do I work out the obliques, as Verena said? How do I work out the lateral? Because the first thing they teach us is that when you do the crunches, you're working the central abdominals. So how do you work out this without doing this or without doing this? And I always ask, because I taught a lot of functional anatomy, sort of biomechanics in the United States. What do the lateral abdominals, the oblique abdominals, what kind of function they have in our body? Do you know it? The main function.
They stabilize. Did you stay upright so you can have like a heavy weight and walk?
That's
with
one of the
heavy weight?
functions that is not the main function. I mean, it's a function that they have, and they cooperate with other muscles in the core to stabilize, so the back muscles, etc. But the main function of the lateral abdominals, like one that they play basically by themselves, because the stabilization is played by the whole core together. The lateral abdominals are inserted in our hips and here on our ribs. When they contract, they pull down our rib cage. Are you with me so far? When you contract the abdominal muscles, lateral, what they do is they pull down our rib cage. They participate, like they are main factors in forced expiration. When you blow out, normally they don't intervene. But when you do this, strongly, you need the lateral fascias of the abdominals to pull down the rib cage and allow you to do it. If you try to do it right now, try to pull out all the air that you have in your lungs, like strongly, like I did, and feel what kind of muscle, and try to feel what kind of muscle you're feeling. I feel here, this part, because the abdominals are contracting and pulling down my rib cage. So you can actually work out your abdominals without doing the torsions or the laterals. This exercise works with the abdominals, yes, because abdominals contribute to that, but works also with the quadratus lumbi and other muscles. The torsions also do not depend almost zero from abdominals, because abdominals have some fascia that are linked that allow you this torsion movement, but most of the torsion movements do not depend on those muscles. What the main function of the abdominals is, the lateral abdominal, is to pull down the rib cage. And so if you don't believe me, because I see Verena putting a face like, what the hell is he telling me? Try to do, I used to do like 900 crunches when I used to train. I could do as many crunches as I wanted. I was boom, 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 boom. I started working out this way. Every time I do crunches, I never go up all the way. I always go up halfway like this, and I stop. And while I go up, I blow out all the air that I have in my lungs, keeping the belly down, not inflating the belly, but trying to think about the belly being flat. So I keep the belly flat. When if I reach this position and I still have air to blow out, I keep the position and I finish blowing out all the air that I have in my lungs. And then I go back. I do not touch, I do not lay completely. While I go back, I'm breathing in, and then again. And then down. Every time I do one cycle of this, I always blow out all the air that I have in my lungs. And then every time I go back, I fill in. If you have time and curiosity, try to do it. It's killing. Like I have pain on all my abdominals all day after I do that. And I can do like 3 series of 40, 50 maximum. And then I'm dead, literally. Because it's tougher because all the abdominals are working out in these conditions, not exclusively certain ones. If you are doing the same exercise but you are not blowing out, so you are keeping, for instance, your breath, or you are not forcing your air out strongly, mainly you are working on the central abdominals, the central fascias of the abdominals. And the problem with that is, when you do that exercise, many people who do not know it do those exercises in a way that they are keeping their breath, holding their breath, and going up, because they feel more pressure on the abdominals. But if you notice, the vast majority of those who do those exercises have a very big belly, not in terms of that they have fat accumulated, but in terms of they have very strong central abdominals. So it's called bulk belly. It's a strong belly, but it's developed mostly on the center because they don't use that much the lateral abdominals. Next time we are allowed to go to the gym, I work in that, so I always notice it. Like a lot of people who do that exercise that you take the weight from the up and then you start doing this. Are you familiar with that in the gym? At the gym, you take some weight from the upper part. You know the thing that you use for the triceps. They take that and then they do the flexion forward. Anna, you're looking at me like
I'm not so happy with that exercise.
they take the thing from here and then they do.
Yeah, I understand. I know the exercise, but I wouldn't do it.
I know, but when I see that,
I would be afraid to hurt my back or something.
It's a lot of pressure, and you work abdominals, but you work abdominals mostly the central part, and that again is a lot of pressure on the central muscles rather than on the lateral muscles of the lateral fascias of the abdominals. And so it is much easier and less dangerous to do exercises like I'm telling you, like blowing out, etc., and you work on a flat belly but strong belly, rather than those typical exercises that you can see at the gym in many cases, in which they are working out only few fascias and they are even putting themselves at a high risk. For a tennis player, this kind of exercises in which they reduce the pressure on the back is essential because they have the back under pressure all the time. So if you can avoid that stuff, it's much better. And if you have time, like sometimes when I go to the gym and they do that, people look at me like this guy is an idiot. Imagine one, and me precisely, I don't have many muscles around people who are super strong, and they're doing these exercises, and I'm laying there, and then and they are looking at me like this is stupid. But it works for many people. It works, and since I work also in health, when I recommend it to patients who have clinical problems, that's wonderful because you really work the whole belly without putting the extra stress. So if you are curious, and since now we are home and we cannot go to the gym, you are not risking your reputation trying to do that. If you're curious, try to do it and see how it works, because you really feel when you blow out strongly that the wall of abdominals is working. Questions? I cannot. I saw someone talking. Mishi was talking, but I cannot hear you. Okay, that's fine. Any question? Any other question? Try it, and then you tell me next time. I will send you the a part of. I will upload this video in Zoom, I will send you also the Word file that I have with the list of the exercises that we just discussed together here. And I will also send you some of the videos, as long as you promise not to share them with anybody, because that would destroy my reputation. I wanted just to show you one in which I was precisely doing this exercise, and it's should be this one. And then we are done. And then I'll let you go, don't worry.
I still have to say that it's not the main function of the muscle. I study medicine, and well, of course it helps with the expiration but it's not the main function of the muscle.
What's
main
the main function?
is rotating and putting your body like to the side.
It's like this one and this one.
Yes. I'm studying medicine as well.
Then I won't fight against you guys if you study medicine. But usually when I work or I studied biomechanics, and the main thing that they were telling us is contributing to all of this together with other muscle. But probably express myself improperly. It's not that the main function, but the function.
It will increase the function.
I'm sorry?
When you do it. It will increase the movement. If you do something and then you kind of force expiration, the muscle will work and will increase tension.
Perhaps I expressed myself improperly. What I meant is that in those cases that you are describing, they participate together with other muscles. So when you do that,
yeah, but in expiration, they also participate with other muscles.
With the diaphragm, a little.
Yeah, and the intercostal muscles and stuff
the
like
sternocleidomastoideus.
And the back muscles.
All right, then guys, I want to upload this video. No, but it's good. It's fine. Like I don't expect to know everything, but that's what we studied when we did that in biomechanics, and it made a lot of sense. But it's always good to be corrected, especially from those who are more expert than I am. So forget what I said, but when you do that exercise about the main function, but when you do that exercise, you are using the abdominals, lateral abdominals, and you are not putting pressure on the spine by rotating it. I will have to make amends to all my other students. I will have to correct myself. Thank you. Anyways, let me show you that. No, it's good to know. Like, this is one of the exercises that I do. Obviously, not that much. I'm not that much up because I have a kid on me, but I'm blowing. I'm trying to go up, blowing, and also sometimes I use the racket as to coordinate the movement. So I have my belly flat. I'm pushing it down. I'm blowing out strongly, and at the same time, I'm doing some tennis movements, so to simulate the condition of tennis. Just as an example. Let me write down Anna and Verena failing them. Okay, bro. No, guys, but thank you for that. Anyways, so in that case, when you do that, it's not their main function, correction, but it's very good for reducing the stress on the spine. That Anna, Verena, can you confirm
I agree
that?
they help with that. It's just
Sorry?
I agree with you on that
Thank
they help
God.
with that. It's just that it's not the main function.
All right. So, anyways, it helps a lot in reducing the stress on the spine, because, as Anna and Verena will confirm, the spine was not made for torsions, like mostly. So, when the torsions increase a lot the pressure on the spine, like the torsion increases a lot of the pressure on the spine, that the vertebrae are made in a way that they receive the weight from the upper part. So you are putting at risk your spine, and for a tennis player, is very important to avoid that. All right. If you don't have anything else to correct on what I said, Anna was dissimulating better, but Verena was like,
I just
So-
can't control my face expression.
Nah, it's
I
okay.
don't want to be a know-it-all, so I was like, I'm gonna tell you my opinion
Uh-huh.
so that I have said it.
I always want to know the opinion because sometimes I learn more from the students than the student learn from me. I hope that in this case it will be 50-50. Anyways, so if you don't have any more questions, I will send you everything as I said. I will send you the videos. I will send you the training sheet with the exercise that we discussed, even though I don't know how much you can get from just written exercises. And then not next week, but in 2 weeks, we are talking about the forehand and backhand. So the basic strokes that you play in tennis from the baseline. And I'll try to be sure not to say other things because there are people here that are checking my words. No, I'm just teasing you guys. It's fine. It's fine. Just teasing you.
The
Just have
next
to erase this video.
Zoom meeting is on the 19th.
The next meeting is in 2 weeks. Oh no, the next meeting is next week.
Ah, okay.
Next week, because in theory this meeting was the last week, but we switched them because it was bad weather. In the end, it was bad weather today too. So I will never switch or delay any more meetings, even if the weather is bad, because you never know how the weather will be for the following week. So for sure, next week we meet and we talk about forehand and backhand. Okay.
I still do have a question about the warm-up. We're gonna be in teams. I already read my team members, and in full, it should be a full warm-up. Everything should be warm so that you can play. Have I understand it right?
Yeah. So you split. The warm-up should be to around 25 minutes. You are in a team of 5. So yes, 5. So you should have 5 minutes per each. So each portion of the warm-up put together makes a 25 minutes warm-up for tennis in its wall. So you do a part of it, but it's not a complete. It's just a part contributing to the wall. So that's why you need to be in contact with the other guys, with the other persons in your team, so you're sure that you are working synergically. Because the warm-up should follow certain rules. For instance, progressively getting you into the condition, not jumping in intensity, not jumping in complexity. So try to first thing talk to the other members in the team and decide who would do the first exercise or the second, so you can modulate the intensity and complexity of them. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Any correction?
There. You didn't talk something about muscle, so it's okay.
Any other questions, guys?
No.
Right, then the 12th of May, we are meeting and we start discussing about tennis technique of forehand and backhand. All right? Thank you, guys. Thank you, Verena. Thank you, Anna.
Bye.
Thank you, Mishi,
Bye.
for being always.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a
Bye.
nice
Thank
day.
you.
Bye.
Bye.